Greetings, everyone. My name is Amy Reynolds. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm excited to join you, have you join us to Division 17 Path to Leadership, I guess I'll call it. This is an information session that we are doing with all of you to share our perspectives and experiences about being leaders within Division 17. I'm the current past president. And one of my tasks as past president of the division is to put forth and support the election process within our division, which we're in the middle of doing that. And so this is one of many tools we're going to use to engage with our members and let you all know what a wonderful experience it is to be involved in Division 17 leadership. So we have a program here of questions and responses and conversations that we're going to have that won't take too much of your time. And so we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to start with Herman. Why don't you lead us off?
Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for your leadership and for organizing this. It's wonderful to be here with this group of folks that I've had the honor of serving on the executive board with. And hi, everyone who's joining us. My name is Herman Cadenas, pronouns he, his, él, and I am calling from the Lenape land in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. And my current leadership position is VP for Diversity and Public Interest in Division 17. I am also an assistant professor of counseling and psychology at Lehigh University. And some of the activities that I have engaged in as VP include consulting with the Council of Presidents, which is a current, past, and elected president. Consulting with them when we are working on a public statement. And we've worked on several statements, including in response to some of the murders of Black people at the hands of police, some of the issues of immigration, and many other social issues. And so my role plays kind of a consulting sort of role in shaping these statements, finding members within our division who can contribute to these kinds of statements. And we've also tried to make the statements action-oriented so that we can mobilize our members towards action. I've also have done quite a bit to uplift our advocacy resources in our new website in Division 17. We have an advocacy group that meets monthly to develop resources and to engage in issues of advocacy to help our members become a little bit more involved in that way, because advocacy is a major value in counseling and psychology, and so we try to uplift that. And I've also represented Division 17 to entities and groups outside of the division within APA, including Divisions for Social Justice, which is a group of aligned divisions in APA. I attend the BAP meetings to report back. And I've also had the chance to support the appointment of a liaison to SEMA in APA, and to create a new position for federal advocacy liaison within 17 that liaises with APA advocacy. So that's a little bit of what I do. And it's all of that to say that it's a lot of fun. And this is a position that I think you can shape if you're interested in running for it. And you can align it with your own work and with what you want to see more of in Division 17. I think that when I was a student, I wanted to see more advocacy in the division. And now that I'm in this role, I'm able to help make that happen.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Herman. Let me turn it over to Andreas.
Yeah, good afternoon, buenas tardes. Andrés Consoli, my pronouns he, him, él. My current professional position as a faculty member at the University of California, Santa Barbara. My current leadership position in the division is the Vice President for International Affairs, which is a reasonably new position. I'm the second sitting vice president, and Aisha Sifshi was the inaugural vice president. So there's a lot of opportunities to shape this position. Some of the things that I've been experiencing while in the position and then engaged in, first and foremost, it's a wonderful group to be in. It's a complex group because there's so many representatives. I'm still trying to put my mind around my arms around and my mind around what constitutes Division 17 leadership, because again, there's so many people, but everybody extremely engaged and putting shoulder to the wheel when intricate issues like the one Germán just highlighted come up. And also the opportunity to be my cultural self. I bring my identity as an immigrant, as formerly undocumented, as a Latino man, and that has been welcome and certainly appreciated and supported. And I felt in really good company throughout this 2+ years. And the things that I have been involved, as again a recently new position, my point of reference has always been a section that is the International Counseling Psychology section, and I meet with the leadership there regularly, and we together figure out what our priorities and set up an agenda that is again orchestrated between and sorry.
This is a reminder that I'm an appointment at Human Performance Center on Thursday, November 3rd at 3.
Sorry about that, of course.
You have a life outside of SCP, Andres?
No way. Well, and so take it from the top. So working collaboratively with the International Counseling Psychology section, again, one of the sections within Division 17, and working with their leadership, we meet regularly and then try to develop a joint agenda in terms of the things that they want us, they want the executive board to realize and come to fruition. And among those is a division-wide international awards that are different than the ones that have been previously given, in the sense that they are not individually awarded, but really awarded to groups of people engaged in a cause that resonates with the values of Division 17. Another important thing that we worked on was to respond to some of the executive orders that the former President Trump engaged in, that they were discriminatory against some of our important members who are, again, international members, international students, and also people who are trying to work after, during their work experience after earning their graduate degree. And we were really impressed how much people step up to it, and just like Germán articulated before, a lot of advocacy that people join in, creating statements and then signing individual letters. And on a regular basis, an important need that came up was the issue of supporting international faculty members, junior ECP international faculty members. And so we created a support group that meets once a month. And this is on the heels of another group that it's orchestrated by the International Counseling Psychology section to support international early career professionals that are not necessarily faculty. And so we again, work collaboratively in advancing some of that. And again, this is a great opportunity, as I'll be saying more later on about what some of the exciting opportunities that are ahead. But I strongly encourage you to consider the position, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have by writing directly to me. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Andreas. Next, we're going to have the two council reps introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what activities they're involved with.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy. So I'm Carlene DeBlair, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm zooming in from Atlanta, Georgia, which is on the unceded Muskogee and Cherokee lands. In terms of my role outside of SCP, I'm an associate professor and also the program coordinator of our counseling psychology PhD program here at Georgia State. I'm also the faculty associate for mentorship in the graduate school and the faculty associate for professional development, most recently within the Office of Faculty Affairs. And then within SCP, I'm currently a council rep. Arpana, do you want to do your introduction and then we can kind of tag team on the...
Sure. Hi, I'm Arpana Inman, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently calling from Rutgers, New Jersey. I'm at Rutgers University. I'm the dean for the Graduate School of Applied and Professional Psychology there. And in my role in SCP, I'm currently the council rep with Curleen and Lisa as well. So there are three of us that are currently council reps.
Yes, and it's Lisa, Dr. Lisa Ferdinand.
Yes.
So in terms of our roles, I mean, I think overarching is that we are voting and bringing to the floor when we talk about various issues and items for voting. We're bringing SCP values, SCP priorities to APA governance. And so that is not only participating in the meetings, kind of going up to the mic, there's kind of always that first pressure of talking in the large group and sharing perspectives. So if you're unfamiliar, which I certainly wasn't, issues for voting get brought to the floor, and then, basically people make pro-con statements and to garner support, and then there's a vote. And so for us as SCP core reps, we often go to the mic and speak in ways that we hope, and we kind of check in, are reflective of what we'd want as a division. And so you can do a couple of things. You can do that in terms of what's happening on the floor, but also we've had historically, I think our reps are very involved in the caucuses, which are smaller interest groups within core that reflect, I don't know, Arpana, how many, there's like 17, there's several caucuses related to special interests.
Yeah, so we have the caucus for public interest, for women, for children and adolescents. There's a new global caucus that was just recently created. There's something for ethnic psychology. And there's another interesting caucus that focuses on bringing, it's called Account, and it brings in diverse voices and brings in new voices. And in fact, one of the changes that has happened within the council process is that they've changed the number of terms one can serve on council, which I think is very important. And all three of us felt very strongly that was important in bringing new voices in. And I just want to highlight what Curleen has actually described is kind of very descriptive of what a legislative body really does. So consider us to be your senators or your reps to APA, where we are kind of bringing your thoughts, your values, your passion for advocacy, etc., to the table, so that we can infuse counseling psychology values in all of the different resolutions, the guidelines, and policies that typically would govern the functioning of APA.
Absolutely.
True.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Amy. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead. I was going to move on to Heidi, but if you want to add a piece.
Oh, I was just going to highlight a couple of things that would be reflective of some of the things as council reps, and these are just recently that we've been able to vote on that I think help to kind of illustrate what we're talking about. So we were part of the vote to affirm student votes in APA elections, which will be happening in the next one, removing the felony question from the APA membership application. And that was actually a really, I think, emotional when that happened. There was just, there was a lot that was shared. Having ethnic psychology associations have seats on council and be able to vote. the term limits that Arpana spoke of. And then we did a lot related to master's level training, which is really relevant to counseling psychology and is an issue that we're discussing. A lot of resolutions and guidelines, including advancing health equity, psychology's role in addressing the impact and change required with police use of excessive force against people of color, for example, and then just really practical things like approving the new or renewing the recognition of counseling psychology as a specialty for 7 years. So it runs the gamut from larger policy issues to really pragmatic functional things like continuing to have our field be recognized within the broader scope of psychology.
And if I can just add one piece of logistics that you might be interested in learning. So there are typically 2 main meetings for council, one in the fall, one in the spring, one of which happens in person. The other one has typically happened online more recently. And then there are a lot of town hall meetings in between where we get to hear of what's going on and have a discussion so we can be well prepared to then respond to or bring back the issues to the executive board so that there can be a discussion of any specific issues that we might want to have a larger voice from the executive board or membership, just to make sure we are kind of infusing what counseling psychology really wants. So that's something that you would be involved in if you were to be a council rep for Division 17.
Amazing. Awesome. Heidi, why don't you go next?
You don't want to go next, Amy? You want to?
I can go next. As I said, I'm Amy Reynolds, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm coming to you from the land of the Haudenosaunee, unceded land, which is now called Buffalo, New York. I am the past president of the division. The main thing I'll say is that being president of this division or any division is one thing that somebody's like, oh, I could never do that, or what would that, that just seems like an impossibility. And it certainly felt that way for me. And I'm not somebody that has a long, extensive time with involvement in Division 17. It's been more, I don't even mean leadership, but just beyond looking at ranking programs for the APA convention, which I did for like 15 years. I wasn't actively involved in Division 17 leadership at any level till I became a program chair when Michael Mobley was president. Prior to that, I wasn't involved with APA for a lot of different reasons. And so, I guess I say that to say that you don't have to be someone. And I think now more than ever, we don't necessarily want only the people who have who are gray in the head like me and who have had the longest of years, right? We want people who have passion, who have interest. And when you're president, you get involved with running the meetings, you work closely with cabinet and our executive director, Debbie Nolan from AMC. You bring forth policy and practices to the division. Most presidents have initiatives, although we're trying to kind of we're talking now about making initiatives more growing out of what the membership needs rather than just sort of pet projects of presidents, so that there's some continuity and deliberateness in what we do. This is a time of great transition and transformation in many ways in the time that I've been involved in executive council. And so it's a big job, the president, but there's lots of resources there and supports to help you. And you really can feel like you're working with an amazing team at every level. So I'll pass it on to Heidi now.
Thanks, Amy. It's appropriate that I follow you because you're the former secretary before you became president. So I'm Heidi Zetzer. I'm a teaching faculty member at the University of California, Santa Barbara, which is on the unceded land of the Chumash Nation. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the current secretary for SCP. I got involved at the division level through the section. So I was in the the Advocacy for Sexual Orientation and Gender Diversity section when it was called the Section for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Issues. I was a member at large for mentorship. That was great fun. And then I was active in the section of supervision and training. I was the chair there. I did some other things, awards committee, stuff like that. And I have some other leadership experiences outside of APA. And so like Amy, I had some involvement at the section level, but not really anything at the division level. And the secretary position is wonderful for someone who wants to learn more about the division without playing point. So my chief responsibility is taking minutes, which means I get to know everybody at the executive board meetings. I get to participate in those board meetings and have a voice when I feel it's necessary. And I get exposed to lots of different leadership styles and lots of fabulous people. So it's really a wonderful way to get to know Division 17 and also APA and how APA works, which is really a mystery to most of us until you get involved in some kind of leadership role. In addition to taking the minutes, I have been involved in some of the special efforts that the division has done, mostly around reformulating itself as an anti-racist organization. So I was on a couple of committees that decolonized. The charge was decolonizing supervision and training. And that was really rewarding. We did a little presentation at APA about that. And I'm continuing to participate in the retreats that are being offered to leadership at lots of different levels through Jernigan and Associates, and that is very rewarding. And that experience in particular has generalized to other settings. So I take what I learned there to my department and also to other associations that I'm involved with. So the benefit of leadership, to whatever degree, however assertive or quiet you are, is really wonderful. There's a lot really to take in and to learn in this role. So, I also helped a little bit with some bylaws changes that made it more inclusive for graduate students, and that was very meaningful and rewarding. So I hope that if you're listening to all of us, you'll think about the part that you can play and stretch yourself into these roles, because it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of camaraderie. It's really a wonderful experience.
Awesome. Now, some of us, as we were doing our, some of us, as we were doing our sort of spiel here, we did sort of already talk about our leadership path. I know Heidi and I did, and Andreas did a little bit, but I wonder if Arpana, Kerline, and Herman have things that you might want to add about sort of your leadership path to your current position. And not necessarily just by position, but, you know, generally sort of what has your path been?
So I can go. I think for a long time, like Amy, I was not really as involved. I was an observer in Division 17, attending conference, presenting, etc. And then at some point, given my interest in advocacy, I realized if I want change to happen, I need to be in the fold rather than looking from outside. And so that's kind of what prompted me to start thinking a little bit more about taking on a leadership role in 17. One of my first roles was being a program chair when Janet Helms was president. I remember meeting Janet actually in the bathroom when we had this conversation of her asking, talking about me taking on the role. So it's kind of an interesting place that things happen. So you never know, you know, you could meet people in the bathroom and have these discussions. That took me to then actually the presidency, I think, of Division 17, which was a big jump. But again, as Amy has said, I think the community that we have within the executive board and the support has been immense to help you and learn, help learn the role and to engage in the role. And my choice of going to be a council rep has been very intentional, again, because I felt very strongly about needing to be within APA to kind of address some of the changes I'd like to see. And so that's kind of how I ended up being council rep.
Kerline, you want to jump in, and then Herman?
Sure, thank you. So I started my kind of journey with the Now Leadership Collaborative when I was in the inaugural cohort, which was then the Leadership Academy. Actually, Arpana wrote one of my letters of recommendation. Thank you, Arpana. And at the time, I was actually at Lehigh University, where Herman is now, and actually is in my old office, which I get a kick out of every time I am on a Zoom call with him. but anyway, that's a sidebar. I was looking for community as an early career person, and I wasn't sure, because I hadn't been involved as much as a student, how to kind of break into leadership and kind of service and engaging SCP. So I was fortunate to be part of that cohort of Leadership Academy or Leadership Collaborative folks. And from there, Michael Mobley, actually, I did some co-committee work at the first, for the 2014 SCP conference, and was part of that planning committee, the conference committee, and that kind of got me connected with different folks. And then I was one of the tri-chairs for a STIG on engagement. And so another piece around, kind of, you don't know where the positions will take you. I ended up being the co-chair with Punky Hepner for the committee that developed the VP for International Affairs role that got approved and is now, I'm on the call with them, so it's kind of, these things kind of happen in ways that you don't always anticipate, but being present and engaging in things that are of interest to you, I think sometimes you just end up, just kind of some neat things happen. And then I was the VP for Diversity and Public Interest, and then kind of, and Herman spoke to all the beautiful things he's doing and currently in that role. And then as core rep, which I have to say, I don't know that I was as intentional as Arpana, thoughtful. I knew that I wanted to, I had gotten a sense as a VP for diversity and public interest, so Herman spoke to some of the liaison roles of, I started to get a better sense maybe, or a clearer sense of the structure of APA and where the different points of intervention might be. And so maybe there was some intentionality. And it seemed that core, although it was a little bit of a mystery to me, even when I was like, yeah, sure, okay, was that it was the legislative body. And it was also a lot of the things that I was seeing with the different boards and committees that I was liaising with, that ultimately the documents and the decisions that were being made went to core. And so this seemed to be a place where you could offer feedback, but also kind of where those final decisions got made. And it seemed like a place where, you could make a difference and kind of, do that, an extension of some of the work of our community of folk, which is probably, like so many others have talked about, is a big part of what I've enjoyed, has been connecting with other people who are really passionate about social justice, they're passionate about diversity, and to see how they do it, because a lot of them doing it better than me and they continue to do it better than me. And I learn about how I can do it in my spheres of influence and in my spaces and in ways that can kind of fit for me. And I see how wonderfully people do it in ways that they care about, in ways that are consistent with them. And I think it helps to know that there's a place and we can find our place. And so that's been really valuable, I think, for me, probably personally and professionally.
I can
Amy,
go
you were
next.
muted there. Yeah.
Sorry, Herman. Thank you, Curleen. And Herman, why don't you talk a little bit about your path?
Yeah, of course. And I'm listening to everyone's paths, and I'm just kind of taking in the connection and the community that really stands out, and also some of the similarities in some of the paths. And so I just appreciate you all for sharing. For me, I think I started sort of leadership development more in the community as a formerly undocumented immigrant like Andres, living in a very difficult state in Arizona. I was sort of called to action to respond to racist local and federal policies that really impacted me, my family, and the people that I loved in my community. And so that's sort of how I started in the leadership path, and then became quite involved in advocacy at the university where I was getting my graduate education. And so Division 17 wasn't really in my radar at all. Like I thought it was sort of, you know, I just didn't quite connect with it, right? And I found more of a professional home in NLPA, the National Latinx Psychological Association, where eventually I met Andres and other wonderful folks. It wasn't until my advisor told me about the Leadership Academy, the Leadership Collaborative, like Carlene, that I applied and really got to know Division 17, and just how wonderful of a place it is, and how aligned it is with social justice and multiculturalism, and what a friendly and welcoming place it is for folks of all different kinds of backgrounds, and especially folks who come from minoritized backgrounds and who hold minoritized identities. And so it was great for me to, like, as a graduate student, to know that I was in the right place professionally, and to meet folks who became, you know, really close friends. Over the weekend, I was just with someone that I met through the Leadership Collaborative, who also has a baby, and you know, now we're really close friends, and it's just truly a wonderful community. From the Leadership Collaborative, I kind of went away for a while, focusing on finishing the the PhD and internship and all of that. And then Arpana was president. And I think, Arpana, you invited me to be part of the strategic planning for Division 17 and the advocacy plan. And that kind of brought me back in. And then Dr. Annalise Singh was president, and she had something called the Liberation Incubator, which was a fantastic initiative. And I met people like Amy there, and we did a lot of programming. It was like 12 months of programming related to liberation in counseling psychology. And then from there, I was tapped to run for VP, and I've been in this role for the past few years. And it's been really, really transformational, and has really made me feel quite connected to the field and the people, the really great people that are part of it. Thinking about next steps intentionally, the folks at Division 17 nominated me, and I've been confirmed to be on the advocacy coordinating committee for APA starting in January. And this is the committee that guides APA's federal advocacy. And so it kind of comes full circle that what brought me to leadership was responding to racist policies. And now I'm going to be in a committee that focuses at the policy level. So for whatever your goal is, whoever is watching, career-wise, I think leadership in 17 could be really a way to support you in getting to where you're hoping to get to.
Thank you, Herman. I'm glad you mentioned that about the advocacy, because if you didn't, I was going to. So with the time that we have left, what I'd like people to do maybe is to share what you love about being involved with SCP leadership. And some of you have already spoken to why you recommend that others get engaged. So, just any kind of closing statement that you want to make about why you love doing leadership with Division 17, and what you, I guess, is your closing pitch. So whoever wants to go and respond to that, that'd be awesome.
I can go, and I want to echo what Germán was just saying, and other people have said before him, that it's a phenomenal opportunity to network, to learn, to develop humility even further. I have learned tremendously by the commitment of the association to really take a stance against racism and really embrace anti-racism through actions that are proactive and that are, engaged. And what I have love really the most is international engagement through Division 17, and that really is at the heart of what my position is about. Is really understanding how things are seen and conceptualized from outside of the United States, and then what can we do to actually keep up and get ourselves there in a more liberatory fashion, and rather than neo-colonizing fashions. And I highly recommend it. You're going to get friends, just like Herman said. They're going to be friends for life here, and they're going to be people that you admire the most, that you're actually working shoulder to shoulder with, and getting inspired every day by the queries that you receive, but also the invitations you receive. And now working internationally makes it really challenging because of the difference in time. So you got to be flexible. I'd be up at 1 a.m. because that's when everybody else can meet. And but that's actually a very interesting experience, to be in a meeting where people are in such diverse places in the world, and in terms of time. I was in a meeting last night where somebody was starting the day, somebody was ending the day, and others were in the middle, but everybody was passionate about joining forces to make a difference on global issues. So this is a great opportunity here, and I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Andres. Who wants to go next? Anyone want to make their closing plea?
One of the important things that has happened within Division 17, and certainly within the leadership realm, is mentorship. And mentorship is very important, certainly has been important to me, but I see what mentorship can do for others. And so you'll be coming into a space where you're going to have a lot of support. You're going to have a lot of people standing with you as you take on this role. And that's something that's important. You're not doing it on your own. And I think in more recent years, Division 17 has been more willing to take a more honest look at themselves, at ourselves, and to engage in and take risks that have actually moved us along in very consistent with the values of counseling psychology. So I think this is a really exciting time to be involved with Division 17.
Hear, hear. Heidi or Herman?
Herman, you go next.
Absolutely. I would echo everything that's been said, and just emphasize the theme of connection, really connecting with folks who are counseling psychologists, having that sense of community, and also the theme of impact, that this is the leadership role within 17 can be a tool for impact, for making counseling psychology and psychology more broadly what we really want it to be. And so in some ways it's about liberating our field, right, from its problematic historical roots, and making it more of the kind of healing field that the world needs. And the world needs a lot of healing.
For sure. Heidi?
Yeah, I mean, just to agree with what everyone has said about the value of connection, of reflection, and of action, of moving forward. I still, all the time, Brianna French and all that group's paper on radical hope, radical healing from racial trauma, racial injustice, but radical hope really comes to mind. And I see SCP as engaged in that process, because radical hope is when you move forward, even though you don't know exactly what will unfold. And most associations and organizations do not function that way. They are like control. And so I see us as really living our values and willing to step into the future and building it as we go, and sustaining a commitment to the values so that we really show deep integrity. So. That's it.
And that's amazing. And I'll just add to that to say that I think I love counseling psychology more now than even when I started on my leadership path, which is exciting to me. I would say, sort of in speaking with what everybody said, Division 17, although not formally talking about it, through its actions has really shown itself to be a learning organization, that is always striving to learn and to grow and to take feedback. That's where we're at in this moment. I can't say that we've always been in that moment. We were more insular than we were in the past. In the past, and I feel like we're really trying to break out of that and be as member focused as we can. And the last point I'll make is today we all found out that the new APA president elect is a counseling psychologist. So it kind of shows how, the path to leadership can go as high and as far as anybody wants. And there's lots of great supports in place to make that happen, right? So we hope that we've piqued your interest. All of us individually and collectively are available to answer any questions. I will be following up with people who reach out in particular because that's part of my role. Again, we want to thank you for taking the time to watch this conversation. And I just want to give a great shout out and hug to all my colleagues here and to Curleen who had to take off. Thank you for your time. And we look forward to having all of you join us in Division 17 leadership. Thank you so much.